this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try, we finally get to see the formal introduction of Minato's secret gunpla. When Sora, Umi, and Riku come together, they form the massive mechanized robot, the Gundam Tryon 3. This is my favorite Gundam of all time. I did not expect to be impressed by this thing, especially because it's really not all that unique. The Gundam Tryon 3 is a glorified reference to old school super robot anime like Voltron and Gao Gaigar, and it even looks just like that, the King of the Braves himself with the big old lion right on its chest. But I'm impressed by it, and I'm just like the audience in this week's episode. At first, I'm silenced, and then I am floored by the pure badassery of this gunpla, which I pray gets released as an actual gunpla that you can combine with all of the different pieces. And it has a lot of old school attacks, which are very similar to the super robots. It has giant fists, which can fire like rockets. It has these big blades, which can heat up on its arms. It even has the Liga Glare, which is this big attack where these beams come out from the lion's eyes, which then form into this one corkscrew beam, which plows right through other mobile suits. It's awesome, it's flashy, it's over the top, and it even has its own title card, which makes it look like an old school anime. I want a spin-off with the Gundam Tryon 3, and I want it now. If you weren't satisfied by the action in the first half of the episode, getting to see the Gundam Tryon 3 destroy this team, in particular getting to destroy one of my favorite mobile suits from Gundam Seed, the Calamity Gundam, you're going to be at least a little satisfied by all of the battles that happen in the middle and at the very end this week. In particular, the one at the end I thought was very satisfying. But in the middle of the episode, we just get to see a few of the other teams who are fighting. In particular, this one scene that really caught my eye was when the Gabai Institute was fighting against this other gunpla team in this like old school ninja fortress. And a few members of their team happened to have ninja-themed gunpla. There was this one little mini SD version which could hide behind walls and even use a substitution jutsu like something out of Naruto. But the one I was most excited to see was the Spiegel Gundam from G Gundam, which was used by Schwartz Bruder, and it's a very ninja-like Gundam. I especially love how it comes out of the floor like a freaking shadow. That was really impressive. And I even like to see the twins fight this week. They seem like they use a lot of guerrilla tactics when they fight against other teams, and they plant bombs all over the place, and it looks like they're actually going to be going up against Team Tri-Fighters in next week's episode. But let's talk about Shia Kijima and her brand new gunpla, which is the G-Portent, which seems to be sort of like an upgraded version of the Xie, and it has a lot of green color to it. It's incredibly sleek and very light and powerful. In fact, it even demonstrates that in the final battle of this week's episode, where it goes up against the Vegan Gear K, which is this supremely badass upgraded version of the mobile armor Sid from Gundam Age, which was an unmanned mobile armor, which was basically self-aware. And this one is golden and red and glorious. It's like a big dragon gunpla, and it's manned by, of course, Kei Karima, but he actually is going to be battling against Shia Kijima against the Gunpla Academy. They decide that since she was so late in creating her gunpla, her punishment is that she's going to have to fight against this team by herself. However, she seems to have no problem with this whatsoever, because her G-Portent Gundam, while not the most flashiest or ridiculous looking of Gundams, has a lot of unique abilities. I especially love the fact that since it's so light, it can actually bounce off of missiles without them exploding. It does that when the Vegan Gear K is sending these cluster missiles towards it, and she's just pushing them away all lightly as she's running towards this thing. And then it does this one big beam attack where it fires multiple beams. She's then able to create these like weird, almost like shield-like beams on the bottom of her feet, which she can use to literally glide down the beam. But then the Vegan Gear K has one big attack, which is like this big Dragon Ball Z style big blast attack, which does absolutely nothing to the G-Portent, and then she just dismantles it without any problem, like a hot knife through butter. This week's episode was really satisfying in terms of the action. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try? This show is fun. It's really fun to watch. It has so much ridiculous action, and I loved the callbacks to super robots at the beginning of this week's episode. I was afraid they actually were not going to follow up on Minato and his team, but in fact, they got a lot of development this week, not only in the battling, but getting to learn how he formally joined the team and how one member of them actually stepped down because they want to stay friends together, they always want to play together, and they're actually playing from their heart, real earnestly, and honestly, I want to see Minato's team win. I know that Team Tri-Fighters is the main group, main characters, and they're probably almost certainly going to win this tournament. I would love to see Minato and his team come out on top, only for a twist and to, you know, mix things up a little bit, and because I love the Gundam Tryon 3. That thing kicks so much ass. I love everything about it. And right after that, you just get an orgy of Mecha Gundam action, which is just all the different teams fighting each other. It's really great. That's the thing about this series. It just gives and gives and gives. And little by little, they, you know, try to trickle in the story. I do like the fact that they're still bringing up Lucas Nemesis every now and then, just building up how powerful he is going to be. In the middle of the episode, they think maybe he's not even going to be in the tournament. And by the end of the episode, in the post-credit scene, you can see he's already got his Gunpla ready, which seems to be a variant on the Crossbone Gundam. I also liked the little tease when Yuma was talking to his sister China on the phone. She mentioned that Sei has actually been watching the entire tournament. And, like I said, it's only a matter of time before we see these characters again, and I still want to see Domon Kashu. I still remember that from the very beginning of the intro of the series. Don't you guys try to, like, sweep that shit under the rug. I want my Domon Kashu. But really, the other standout scene of this week's episode is getting to see Xie in action and her G-Portent, which again is another upgraded version of the Exia. They love using the Exia in this show, and I can understand why. The Exia is a really cool looking Gundam. It's basically the most modern looking version of like the original RX-78-2. That's basically what it is. But still, I would have liked maybe seeing something a little different, but still I have to admit it was really impressive how it battled. And just the way it can push the missiles around and everything, I thought that was really unique. And the riding on the beams, literally surfing on the beams, that's pretty freaking impressive. Otherwise, this episode was just all action, and that's all good, especially if you're a big fan of the series. And if you've been watching a lot of other different Gundam anime, you're really going to appreciate all the fan service as usual. It's not the most perfectly executed in terms of animation and artwork, but it's still one of the most entertaining things that I've seen in a long time. And I loved this episode. I especially love that Gundam Tryon 3. The minute that thing is released, I'm picking it up. Freaking awesome right there. So I'm going to give this week's episode a 5 out of 5. That's right. I love this episode. I had no complaints with it, and I really hate the fact that little by little Gundam Build Fighters is becoming my favorite Gundam anime of all time. That really bugs me as a hardcore fan of old school Gundam and having a really big Gundam anime DVD collection. I have almost all of them, and this is the one that's already becoming my favorite, and it's the most least complex, easiest to follow. It's just so much fun to watch. Ugh, I love this series. Check it out, guys. If you've been following the series, check out this week's episode. It is mandatory viewing, and if you're deciding to jump on the Gundam Build Fighters Try bandwagon, do it now. If you haven't seen the first season, watch it, and if you're a fan of old school Gundam anime, you must see this series. It is awesome. Check it out. Do it now! Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up so you can like it. It really helps us out a lot. And remember, before you leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try. Did you guys have a favorite mobile suit or Gundam that appeared this week? Favorite battle scene? What do you want to see from the rest of the second season of Gundam Build Fighters? Remember, you guys can also subscribe to our channel by clicking on the channel icon right up here. It really helps us out a lot, and that way you'll be able to see all of our brand new anime and manga reviews. We even have a brand new podcast that we just started. You guys can also follow us on social media like Facebook and on Twitter, and you guys can also directly donate to us through our PayPal link if you would like, but the best way to help us out really is to watch our videos. It is really easy to do. Share them with your friends. There it is, guys. Thank you again for watching. Super Kami Guru 9000 out.